In most developed markets, buying a coffee or subscribing to a digital service is an invisible event. You tap a phone or click a digital payment button, and the transaction simply retreats into the background. But prior to 2016, trying to execute a simple cross-border payment in Africa was a logistical nightmare. Money moved at the speed of bureaucracy, not the speed of the internet. This chart highlights the scale of that friction. At the time, 90% of the continent's transaction volume was cash-based, and 57% of the population remained entirely unbanked. However, looking at the sheer commercial density of a hub like this, it was clear that massive trade was happening regardless. People were simply forced to work around the digital disconnect. Flutterwave's founders identified this friction as a massive business vacuum. Bridging the gap between the cash economy and the global digital corridor meant building a technical foundation that simply didn't exist yet. The underlying problem was fragmentation. The landscape was a maze of disconnected local banks, isolated mobile money platforms, and regional regulations that didn't talk to each other. This node map shows what happened when a business tried to grow. A single transaction pathway would cross a border and hit multiple red dead ends, causing payments to fail routinely. Overcoming this isolation required a complete re-engineering of the actual pathways money follows between these nations. To unlock continent-wide growth, the complex mechanics of trading across 30 borders had to become completely invisible to the people actually doing the work. Flutterwave's solution was to pull that entire mess behind a curtain. They abstracted the chaos into a single, unified API. This diagram illustrates their consolidation effort. They connected over 150 distinct siloed payment methods and funneled them into one streamlined gateway. By integrating with that single node, a business could operate across 34 African countries instantly. Merchants could suddenly accept everything from local M-Pesa mobile money to international credit cards through one integration. This design shifted the burden of geographic complexity away from the business owner and onto the infrastructure, effectively erasing the physical borders of African commerce. But software alone is insufficient. In a market built on cash, the ultimate barrier to growth is the inherent lack of consumer trust in invisible digital systems. To secure that trust, Flutterwave adopted a license-first expansion strategy. They prioritized strict regulatory compliance in every new market over the typical tech mantra of moving fast and breaking things. They also moved away from manual, human-monitored reviews, replacing them with automated machine learning systems for dispute resolution and fraud detection. This automation allowed them to securely manage millions of transactions overnight without having to linearly increase their headcount. In the fintech world, scalable technology is only as good as the engineered trust that drives people to actually use it. With the infrastructure in place, they turned to a two-pronged growth engine. First, they secured global B2B partnerships, acting as the exclusive African gateway for giants like Uber and PayPal. Then they pivoted toward local merchants, launching no-code tools like the Flutterwave store, so small vendors could start selling online in minutes. They humanized this complex backend by injecting the brand into pop culture, using high-profile influencers and storytelling to make the technology feel familiar. Pairing a secure, regulated network with culturally relevant brand ambassadors created a psychological shortcut for users to trust the platform. This successfully transformed a highly technical payment gateway into a recognizable and beloved lifestyle brand. This chart shows the result of that dual strategy. To date, Flutterwave has processed over 200 million transactions. This chart represents the sheer monetary weight of that volume, which has now surpassed $16 billion in value. Reaching this scale has made them one of the most valuable startups on the continent. Ultimately, they didn't just build a processor, they built the digital rails connecting Africa to the global economy. For founders, the lesson here is that billion-dollar scale is not found in flashy, surface-level features. It is found by identifying a market's most painful friction, hiding that complexity from the user, and relentlessly manufacturing trust. This philosophy is what turns a software product into an essential piece of global infrastructure. Sustainable growth is the byproduct of solving the market's biggest problems more effectively than anyone else. If you are building a business and want a brand that resonates with real growth, Visit brandin.online to see how Brandin helps ambitious businesses scale.